You know the feeling. The alarm goes off, your eyes pull open, and you are hit with a heavy physical exhaustion. You reach for that first cup of coffee just to feel human. This feeling is governed by sleep homeostasis. Sleep homeostasis is the biological tracking mechanism that maintains a strict running ledger of exactly how many hours you have been awake. The currency of that ledger is a molecule called adenosine. Adenosine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that steadily builds up in your brain during your waking hours. When you say you feel tired, you are actually describing a physical reality. You are feeling the literal weight of accumulated adenosine pressing down on your neural receptors. So you brew your coffee. But that first sip doesn't actually wash away the sleep pressure. The caffeine is simply a molecular imposter. This technical diagram shows exactly how that works. Notice the A1 and A2A receptors on the cell membrane. These are specific proteins on the surface of our neurons designed to receive adenosine. Caffeine operates as an antagonist. It physically wedges itself into these receptors, blocking the adenosine from attaching. Your brain's fuel gauge is effectively unplugged. You feel sharp and alert, but if you look at the red ADO dots clustered in the extracellular space, you see the truth. The adenosine is still there. It is trapped, ignored, and continues to multiply in the background. The trap deepens because of caffeine's volatile half-life. A half-life is the time required for the concentration of a substance in your body to reduce by exactly half. For caffeine, this ranges anywhere from 2 to 10 hours, meaning that morning chemical blockade often persists long after the sun goes down. The very compound you used to survive the morning is now sitting in your neural pathways, waiting to sabotage the physical structure of your night. To understand the damage, we must look at sleep architecture, the specific cyclical organization of brainwave patterns occurring while you rest, which scientists measure using an EEG, or electroencephalogram, a test that detects electrical activity in the brain. This line graph illustrates a healthy transition from fast, chaotic waking brainwaves into deep, rolling valleys. We call this slow wave activity, or SWA. SWA is a highly synchronized, low-frequency brainwave state marking the deepest phase of non-REM sleep. SWA is the only biological mechanism capable of clearing your accumulated adenosine debt. It actively sweeps those trapped molecules out of your system, resetting the ledger for the next day. Restorative sleep requires this exact structural brainwave pattern. Without it, your biological clock remains stuck. Now let's see what happens when caffeine lingers. Take a look at panel C of this technical chart, which tracks EEG power density. On the left side, the data shows a sharp drop well below the dashed placebo baseline. That drop represents a direct weakening of your slow wave activity. This damage carries immediate side effects. It prolongs sleep latency, the amount of time it takes to transition from wakefulness to sleep. And as you can see on the right side of the chart at the 15 Hz mark, it triggers an abnormal spike in sigma waves, short, rapid bursts of brain activity, keeping your sleep unproductively light. Usually, a sleep-deprived brain initiates a deprivation rebound. It attempts to generate a massive compensatory surge of slow-wave activity to pay off the debt. But caffeine chemically blocks this homeostatic recovery. The residual molecules occupy the exact receptors your brain needs to trigger that deep sleep rebound. You might be lying in bed, technically unconscious for 8 hours, but you are chemically locked out of the restorative sleep your body requires. This brings us to the architecture of deprivation. This cyclical diagram maps out what scientists call the sleep sandwich. Interrupted sleep leads to daytime caffeine use, which in turn interrupts the next night's sleep. The behavioral consequence is highly predictable. You wake up feeling worse than the day before, so you consume an even larger dose of caffeine to combat the chemically induced fatigue. But recent research highlights a strange scientific plot twist for people who consume caffeine every single day: the tolerance paradox. Over time, the brain adapts to the stimulant. Looking at panel D, the EEG power density curve hugs much closer to the dashed baseline during daily intake. Your slow-wave activity actually begins to normalize. Yet the paradox remains. Even with an adapted sleep architecture, daily consumers still suffer from subjective daytime sleepiness and cognitive deficits, a symptom likely driven by overnight caffeine withdrawal. Chronic consumption fails to cure the cycle. It simply forces your brain to build a futile tolerance to its own exhaustion. Biology does leave room for a genetic caveat. Specific variants in the ADORA2A gene, the genetic instruction manual for building your adenosine receptors, dictate whether you are highly sensitive to this cycle of insomnia or relatively immune. Regardless of your genetics, the absolute truth of the system remains. Caffeine acts as a chemical pause button. It is never a replacement for sleep. The only way to clear your biological ledger and escape the sleep sandwich is to pay your adenosine debt in full through uninterrupted, slow-wave rest.